Yeah. Let's see. Alright, well, my software's reading like 5 seconds ahead of YouTube, but otherwise, everything looks fine. Which is honestly a little unexpected. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Daily Peak, where I pretend like we didn't just have a tornado warning last night. My name is Soul. I am going to go ahead and start off by taking my meds. And I need to actually crack the energy drink I'm going to be drinking, which is a Lost and Found Energy Blue Rush. Meds time. Lovely. I'm like on it this morning. I'm up and at 'em. Notably, I mean, as I mentioned, there was a tornado warning last night at like 2 a.m. No, it was at 1:30 and ended at 2. It was stressful, to put it mildly. Which, I mean, it'd be like that. It was a tornado warning, you know? But, like, still. Okay, that was my vitamins. Let's get started. I love having all of the necessary strength to open a can, but none of the necessary strength to hit the volume up button on my speaker. These are different, like, bits of force, but still. Different exertions. I don't know. Good morning, Digi. Good news, I survived the storms. Cause yeah, tornado warning last night. It was a hell of a time. Doing great. On the bright side, I got my taxes paid before the tornado warning. So don't gotta worry about the taxes. Sorry, I'm a little exhausted from all that. I don't know if you could infer something along those lines, but it's one of those, you may not have been able to guess, but a tornado warning going off. Exhausting. Anxiety-inducing, even. Though I did look into some of the math around how fall damage is calculated in Peak. So that's cool. Notably, if you'll notice the like inconsistent fall damage, the amount of damage you take is based on a combination of distance fallen and time spent in air, which is its own fun calculation. Or no, not distance fallen. It's the speed at which you are moving and how long you have been in the air. So notably, when you jump, you gain 0.5 seconds of immunity to fall damage. Which is why I didn't take any damage there, but I'm pretty sure if I just walked off, I might start taking some. Because, yeah, if you run off... Yep. The minimum amount of fall damage you can take is 5, and the maximum is 100. Yeah. And yeah, you get a half second of immunity when you jump. Which is usually enough to not take any damage. Because you start taking damage after roughly 1.5 seconds. So when you jump, it's actually after 2 seconds. So that's one of the notable things. And aside from that, yeah, momentum. So it's one of those bits of, if you've ever noticed, when you run out of stamina, you start sliding. And you will slide faster if you are out of stamina, because you can't keep your grip. That added momentum can make a fall worse, even when it is relatively short. Also, all the time you spend without stamina on a wall, as you are, like, sliding, it counts as falling. But it's like, yeah, I think it's 1.5 seconds to 5 seconds. You can get anywhere between 5 and 100 fall damage. And the curve on which that scales gets sharper and sharper the faster you're going. That's my understanding. Also, I don't know if the cold has been patched back in. Let me check the patch notes. I didn't actually take a second to look before starting. Nope, looks like nothing since since the other day. Yeah, now the Act 5 cold mechanic just doesn't work for me, and the things have not been updated. So, Ascent 5, not Act 5. Ugh. So we will see. We will see if I start taking cold at night. Hopefully I do. And, like, the difficulty is properly scaled. If not, whatever, it's not the end of the world. I'm here to play Peak. Oh, also, if I understood the wiki right, um, sliding both down surfaces and as you're just like here, that slipping off moment is like your feet are on the ground, but you are moving involuntarily, and that is counted as falling, maybe? I'm making a really unsure face. Fuck. That's on me. That's on me. Okay, so I'm notably not taking any cold damage. And this is Ascent 7. You can see it. Up in the corner. So that's something. I trust that will get fixed eventually. But until then, I guess we're not taking cold damage. Or at least not during the night. Which makes things a little easier, I will admit. Not ideal, but whatever. Help all those who are looking to get a Goat Scout. Guys, if you were looking to get the Mountain Goat Sash, now is the time. If you have this glitch, you just won't take cold damage at night. It would be so much easier. But yeah, I'm vibing. I'm doing my best. I can feel my brain dying, because I'm still recovering from hitting some light levels of fight or flight last night. Which it's like... I don't know. A tornado warning doesn't, like, register as much worse than an exam in my brain. But also I have an outsized anxiety reaction to exams and the concept of failure. So I think that's less a statement about me being used to tornadoes, and more a statement about me being really anxious about exams. Because the prospect of dying in a tornado registers at about the same level on my anxiety meter. Hmm. Okay, that goes on the list of things to mention in therapy. Uh, because yeah, now that I'm thinking over it, a lot of the same stuff that happens when I'm. Hold on. When the tornado alarms sound, my reaction to that and to like learning that there is a test that I forgot is identical. Cause I will sit there, I will feel my brain start to like flood with anxiety chemicals. I have a moment of dawning horror, and then my ability to perceive my emotions shuts off. And my whole body gets super tense. Which, if I am spurred into action directly, such as by someone being like, all right, begin the test, or hey, get to the basement, there's a tornado, um, then then I can act. But outside of that, I freeze up almost entirely. And that effect kind of continues until I've had enough time to calm down. Huh. Weird that dying and taking a test are on the same level in my brain. Um yeah. Okay. Fun thing to have a realization about on a Wednesday morning. Well, it does correlate to that a little bit. It also shows how bad my anxiety specifically is. It's one of those, if my fight or flight reaction wasn't freeze, I would be running around and screaming. It's like I'm dealing with that on top of the American education system just kind of being shit. Man, you really love to see it. Anyway, to move away from that topic, I have another session of my Fate Condensed game today. That should be fun. The Fate of Magic, the Magical Girls campaign. Also, if you want to make a note of that, um, I jumped and landed on the thing, and I started accelerating a decent amount, but because I jumped and landed relatively quickly. The 1.5 timer was extended to 2 seconds. And yeah, I didn't take any damage. Yeah, Magical Girls campaign. The last session we had, we did some rewrites. Oh, and I've shoved my face full of fucking chicken nuggets. Okay. Last session. Wow. Last session, we did some rewrites. Notably, I went to people and was like, hey, what do we want to focus on? I feel like my villains are too abstract here. I would like to pivot tonally. Is that something we're all cool with? Etc. so forth. Because, you know, good communication is the foundation of every healthy relationship. And this includes the relationship between GM and players. Yeah, notably did some rewrites, decided, like, hey, I want to focus on different characters for different arcs. And my players were like, oh, cool, we want to have a little more focus on the possibility of our characters becoming corrupted. You know, as is standard in magical girl shows. And it's like, okay, I didn't realize that was standard. But yeah, the main villains of the campaign so far have been the Dungeon Masters, who are generally representative of wider concepts and storytelling. That is, like, how I determine how their actions work, fun fact. That is, like, the final decision I have made on, like, what the Dungeon Master's powers are. Let me pull up my, Obsidian Vault about this real quick. So, looking at the Faithful Strands, you have the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... we have 7 Dungeon Masters. Red embodies the essence of conflict. Orange is the principle of cause and effect. Yellow is the concept of motivation. Green is the sense of place. Blue is the perspective of different characters, and like what information is available to who. And, like, keeping in mind, like, what this other person thinks, or, you know. Purple represents plot devices, and black represents conclusions. And then there is a little extended blank space in my document for some reason, but I'm sure that's fine. But yeah, when I'm taking into account what these different dungeon masters are like thinking about and what they're perceiving and shit, I am going, okay, like, how does this ability relate to the core theme of the character? So anytime I am putting red into a story, I am putting in a guy who is explicitly the cosmic embodiment of the concept of causing problems. And his default mode is violence, is the, like, literal direct conflict of, hey, I am coming at you with a sword. What do you do? But it also means shit like, hey, I have, forced an event to happen. Or, I have triggered some wider thing. I have acted as one of the foundational dominoes of this plot. So when I'm determining what their abilities are and what they can do, I am taking into account their narrative function. I personally think this is a really fun and meta way to categorize these characters. I think that fall would have been just long enough that I would have taken damage, and by the time I hit the ground I was going at a pretty high speed. So I probably would have taken a decent chunk, albeit not a fatal one. Sorry, I'm doing my best to, like, quantify the damage I'm taking at any given time. And see if I can, more easily comprehend how the system of fall damage works. But yes, one of the notable things is that in this series, they serve as the source of corruption. And they do so in the very, like, I am an instrument of the plot way of, okay, let's cause problems so heroes turn up and respond. Because their, like, extra-dimensional goal is, I would like to collect heroes to put in my dungeons. Whether that is, as worthy opponents or as boss monsters. They have done both of those. But yeah, as a result of this, I feel like turning on the zombie phobia mode is making me more paranoid, because they blend in more with the environment, because they're all brown. And now I don't think I can see them as well. They probably could have made the caps of those red if they actually wanted to put people's minds at ease. Yeah, just pick them up and put them in their pocket. Pocket, parentheses, dimension. Alright, what's red do? Red seems to be healing. Yep, red's healing. In case you're wondering how that confirmed anything to me, I consumed the red and my spores went down. Ordinarily, when you consume a shroomberry, your spores go up. But the healing shroomberries will be like, okay, we need to, like, I don't know, we need to even it out, basically. So they will apply a little bit of spores, and then they will reduce your spores by the healing value. Which is usually more than they applied. But they won't reduce that spore's value beyond a minimum. So Anyway, back to the Magical Girls campaign. Yeah, the dungeon masters act as very like self-aware instruments of the plot, and this is a very fun dynamic to have with characters and players. It makes them awful primary antagonists, though. And that's because they are so meta as to be, like, kind of incomprehensible. Like, it is on a level of, yeah, I would like to collect heroes for my dungeons, which do not exist in the game you are playing. Like, this is a cosmic level thing. This is, like, I am operating on the level of alternate realities. And the core principle of, oh yeah, and I need to be entertaining, because if I stop being entertaining, I get written out. And that is all, like, levels on which the Dungeon Masters are operating, that is incomprehensible to the average player, and also just gobbledygook in most stories. So despite being representative of instruments of storytelling and plot, they are just awful to work in as your primary antagonists. They are side characters. The only place they kind of work as a primary antagonist is the world that they came from, Dungeoneers of Croya. And the reason they work there is because they are the Dungeon Masters, creator of all of the dungeons that you're dungeoneering. And even then, they're only the primary antagonist on a technicality, because the actual antagonist is the dungeon. No. Oh my god. Okay. I am the luckiest bitch alive. What was that? Yeah, if you're sitting here being like, oh wow, this feels really high concept and it's conceptually interesting but hard to follow. Imagine being just like some magical girl trying to deal with this. So they're functioning in this story as entities that are corrupting the spirits of the world. And the spirits are responding by being like, okay, we gotta fight back against these guys. But they're operating on such different levels of narrative that it's kind of hard for these two groups to, like, comprehend each other, much less fight in any, like, you know, dramatically tense way. So I've decided that, basically after conflict and cause and effect, the two dungeon masters who have already turned up and yelled at people went in and borked it so badly that they got murked by a group of teenagers. They're being directed to take a more backseat role. And it's like, okay, clearly we should not be doing this ourselves. So let's inspire conflict a little more indirectly by just lending these powers to people. And at the start of this upcoming session, we're going to be doing a quick, like, okay, the Dungeon Masters are having a meeting. They are doing their whole thing. They're being funny. They're establishing that they are like taking a back seat to more comprehensible threats. And then we introduce the next dungeon masters who will be acting, which is, I believe, fuck. I know one's purple. I don't remember which other one is acting, though. I think yellow? Yellow and purple? Motivation and narrative device, I believe. But yes, notably, Yellow is gonna be the kind of front man for a lot of the operations that are about to happen. Taking on, like, the appearance of a kind of, like, faux divine, like, oracle type. Because this is a setting rooted in modern reinterpretations of a lot of Latin American myths. More specifically, like, Aztec specifically comes up a lot. And notably, this means that, while it is still more of a folk religion than anything, a lot of those old practices are still upheld in a semi-formalized context. More so than they are today. And that means there are groups like the Prophets of Ishtar, who are, you know, like, non-binary prophets who go out and, you know, maintain shrines and temples, and do some fortune-telling work, and advice as they, like, travel along. And notably, a lot of the, like, bloodier aspects of Aztec myth do get kind of neutered here. Because this is not a modern society that practices human sacrifice. It's just, like, paying respect to ancient cultures that they are attempting not to let die out. So it's not like a direct continuity, it's like a Norse paganism situation. But yes, Yellow is impersonating a prophet of Ishtar, and will be basically spreading false prophecies in an attempt to get people to act a certain way. AKA, Yellow is out here acting as the catalyst by which people are changing their motivations. And that is the, like, next primary antagonist situation, as Purple acts in the background, establishing themselves within the Imperial Guard, because the secondary, like, the wider concept villain is, hey, magical girls, have you ever heard of the immortal Queen Victoria and her imperial cult dedicated to her eternal persistence across all time? It is literally, like, British elites hanging out here trying to cause the downfall of America, because how good America's doing is making them look bad. That's the plot, basically. So as this false prophet is taking up the, like, main stage, the fucking, like, deal maker, the string puller, is in the background, like, hey, I have these powers, I have these capabilities, and I can lend them to you, in exchange for, you know, using them to cause chaos. And it's like, ooh, that sounds very powerful. But I would like to not cause chaos here in my homeland. And they're like, oh, you don't have to cause chaos here. I happen to know of some good targets across the sea. And then you have an evil advisor making the evil face, and then the fucking woman in purple is making the evil face. And we set up the longer term plot situation. And then after that, I believe, and notably this is going to be focusing on the arc of the magical girl Winter, who is the daughter of the British ambassador to the United States. Wow, how convenient is that for this specific story? I say that like I didn't start from there and work backwards, but I'm not liking where I've ended up here. Can I do an around? Oh, I can go around. I didn't see. I assumed this was kind of just sheer cliff, but no, there's more mountain here. Nothing to worry about, exactly. Oh, hi, buddy. Yeah, no. The upcoming Magical Girls campaign, each of the next arcs are going to be focusing on different characters. Um, this next one is focusing primarily on Winter, daughter to the British, the Imperial British ambassador to the United States. Because they do call themselves Imperial Britain. And then it is going to be focusing on, I believe, Maru? Not Maru. That is not the character's name. It's Haru? The gunner. Who has, a backstory situation of, oh yeah, my parents went missing for reasons I don't know about, and I'm actively trying to, figure that out. And it was one of those things of like, oh, I didn't catch that part of the backstory. I didn't catch the character motivation in there. So I have a plan for what happened to that character's parents. No, you've never called yourselves Imperial Britain. I did check. I am being very explicit with the themes of this story. I'm not doing that because I'm like, oh yeah, Britain used to call itself that. I'm doing that because it's a very intentional statement on the nature of empires. So they hammer in at every given opportunity that, hey, we're an empire and we're thinking of ourselves as an empire with a legacy. Hmm. I don't know if that makes more or less of a statement than what I'm going for. Yeah. It makes sense. sun never sets on the Empire. That's not an accent. That's not a coherent... Whatever. I love doing a little voice and then immediately realizing I have no idea what that voice was. But yeah, after yellow and purple decide to act, with yellow being now and purple being next, we then have green doing the... Ooh. 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 That sounds like it would kill an Irish person. Then we have green, the sense of setting and place, dealing with the arc about Haru's parents and where exactly they have gone. Green's plan to perpetuate their like presence in this setting is to take over the agricultural sector of the city, notably. And people start going missing there, and for some reason nobody's acknowledging it. Because it's one of those like, oh no, we have plot device powers. We're making people go missing. And it's not in a subtle way. We can just make it so people don't notice. And then in the final arc where we are doing Kari's corruption, because Kari is like the beacon of hope in this group. They are the eidolon of loyalty and friendship, and they are also the main combatant, so I would like to give the other players time to actually develop a fighting chance before that happens. But yes, that one is going to be going up against blue, the sense of perspective. Who is going to be pretty explicitly acting in the sense of, hey, you have all of these high-minded ideals about people, let me show you what they think. What the fuck? How does this keep happening? Hey buddy, you want to come over here? Fucking dumbass. This is what I mean when I say I think the zombie phobia mode is harder. Because I never see them coming, is the thing. Because they're brown now. But yeah, no, the idea for the blue arc is, hey, you like to think that your family is doing these cruelties to you to make you stronger. Let me show you the truth. Hey, you like to think that your friend's corruption was not of their own will. Let me show you the truth. And Blue sits there introducing all of these alternate and horrible perspectives, cherry-picked from the series so far. They blend in. It's fucked. It's evil. It's also, I believe, totally unintentional. Because they were just like, okay, which of our mushrooms looks most like a person? The chubby shroom. The chubby shroom is called that because it looks kind of like a chubby guy. So let's model the like, you know, bipedal mushroom zombie off of that. Like, I do not think they were intentionally going for turning on zombie phobia mode makes the game harder. But it does do that. But yeah, that's my plans for the rest of the Magical Girls campaign, which will be ended off by Black's arc, wherein they reveal, like, hey, Black is like the least evil of the Dungeon Masters because they represent conclusions and, like, death and shit. They need to give him red caps. Yeah, Black represents, you know, the conclusion of a story. And in that sense, Black is turning up in what is more than likely the final arc, to reintroduce the, like, cosmic level nature of this threat. And of course, Black is, generally speaking, one of the least threatening dungeon masters because they are very much a, like, wait and see. But they are also, in addition to being the conclusion, they are also downtime and the quiet moments. So when Black is inserted into a story, you are either getting a beach episode or the grand finale. And Black is never the, like, primary antagonist there, because the situation has moved so far beyond that. Where it is like, hey, no, I am the harbinger of the end. I am here because the story is about to end. I don't necessarily want it to, but it is. You guys need to get your shit together and make sure it's a happy ending. That's one of the notable bits of Black as a character that I really like. Where it is like, no, by the time that I turn up, you are so far beyond, like, an arc villain, that it is insane to think of me that way. Basically, here's the thing, that nonchalance is very built into the character, because Black is represented by a cat. Black is the most non-human of all of the Dungeon Masters, because he's just like a big space cat. Hanging out like, oh no, this story is about to end. I am here to tell you. I am not here to bring it about, because I don't bring anything about. I turn up when the story's about to end. You get to decide how that ending goes. I'm just here to tell you it's happening. Of the finality in Honkai Star Rail. Fair. I was also going the, like, more mature depictions of death that you find in, like, Discworld and such. Or, like, Hades as interpreted by certain groups, where it is like, no, I'm not the villain of this story, I am death. Death just happens. You don't always want it, but I am the conclusion of all things, and the conclusion will come. And then after that, there's this big blank space in my plot pillars document that I'm sure is unimportant and unrelated to anything meaningful. There are no colors that I forgot to mention, and I would not hide anything from you, I swear. Totally, 100%. Yeah. Parentheses, I gotta spoil it a little bit. The last one is white. They are the blank page, in case you're curious. Yeah. No, this is the extended bit. Is they are literally the blank page. Which is representative of, you know, some, like, abstract concepts here. But also, like, hey, this book is over. What's next? What are we writing? And that means when white comes into a story, it means that a new story is beginning, as opposed to the old one concluding. Staring at me with your big ol' eyes. Heart emoji. Did you hear the word white and get your fucking, like, sleeper agent activation phrase? But yeah. No, it's the blank page. It's write the story, write the rest of the story for yourself. I'm done telling it. You get to decide what happens next. In some cases, there's not much to decide. You know, if you have a bad ending, all of the characters you had any control over are dead. This also means that, generally speaking, when I put white into a story, they are the epilogue. And then, yeah, they are also the IRL interaction of me going, so, how did everyone feel about this? Do we want to try and have another game? This also means that when white is invoked in a story, they are never depicted because it's always well after the story ended. I am, like, invoking them posthumously, as opposed to, you know, like, putting them into an active story. Because there is no active story. We haven't written it yet. Fuck. I do think going back through and linking the dungeon masters to elements of storytelling and plot was a very good idea for solidifying their characters. This also means that Bloodlords has gotten more fun. Because the dungeon masters, the colors, are also elements of that lore. And this notably means that the characters are gaining powers, and they're gaining powers that have the theme of not like fire and ice or whatever, but like plot devices. Like, when I put Purple in a story and have her, like, perform, one of the most notable things she does is teleport everywhere, because she uses, bad continuity as a method of transportation. So it's not even like, ooh, I am doing a magic spell and teleporting. It's, no, I'm over here, and I was actually always over here. You just misremembered. I do also really like the concept of transportation by continuity error. Most of the time, this just comes up in short-range communication, or transportation. But notably, it can happen anywhere. It's just one of the aspects of it is, there needs to be, like, a cut in the middle. In the same sense, Red has the ability to lock you into a situation with no means of escape. Not because he's got, like, any kind of warding magic, but because there needs to be conflict here. And I am saying that needs to happen now, and you guys need to do something to escape. I am forcing your hand, this is the moment where you make a decision. This is, the moment where a threat reveals itself. Because, you know, Red is uniquely capable of introducing new plot points and embodying old ones. Red is also capable of injuring you regardless of your resistances. Because, of course. Basically is over in Bloodlords. That's kind of the situation. The inexplicably everywhere shopkeeper is one of many situations. If I am using her as a dungeon master to represent that, it would literally be her in different cheap masks. Like, what do you mean? Putting on a voice. Also, in a similar sense, the reason yellow works so well as a false prophet is because they are motivation. And that means that when characters are lost, they are capable of appealing to yellow to be like, hey, I don't know where to go. What is the path I should be following? And sometimes this is some dude turns up and like kills your mother. Of rewrites and retconning, I do believe that is purple to some extent. Purple is the miscellaneous section. Just to go over the list I have again. Red is conflict, orange is cause and effect, yellow is motive, green is place, blue is perspective, and purple is plot device. And I base their, like, personalities and abilities off of those, like, 1 or 2 word descriptions. Yeah, notably, Orange ends up with a lot of luck-based abilities, or rather, lack of luck-based abilities. Because in situations wherein everyone is making dice rolls, the ability to choose to have an average instead of deal with the randomness of the dice is actually very powerful. And it just deals with, yes, this thing is happening, and thus this thing is happening. I determine the order of events, and they happen in the most, like, logical proceeding. I go in for a punch, and if you are a fighter, you can block, and if you're not, you can't. Cause and effect, the outcome of your actions. It also does make them one of the most, like, defeatable dungeon masters. Because if you made your choices right, this guy is like a perfect average, and you might be exceptional in something. And if you have, like, high bonuses, it doesn't matter that you're only getting an average roll, because you're getting so much added on top of that. Oh, my dog is freaking out. You'll love to see it. Hear it, I guess? Yeah, yellow as motivation is both things like, I am the oracle that gives you the quest, as well as, I am the guy who murdered your parents. I am the reason you are acting. Which is easy to overlap with red quite a bit. This is because all of their powers are arbitrary. But I draw the line of distinction at yellow is why you're fighting, and red is who you're fighting against, generally speaking. So they both have to do with motivation and conflict, but they do so in those two different ways. I would like to get the other half of my thing back, please. Yeah, notably, green, as the sense of place, has the ability to manipulate terrain. Uh, she typically takes on a very natural vibe, as in, like, ooh, I am, goddess of nature or whatever. Uh, but this is not the case. She's just as capable of manipulating cities. Her thing is, I am representative of the location as a character. You know? And as such, I can manipulate locations and their characters. So it's both things like, I can make this wall not exist, and things like, I have turned this place from a labyrinth into a crossroads. And that is, in a very abstract sense. A labyrinth is a location that is made to contain something, or to confuse players or characters. Crossroads are places where people meet. It is when a location evolves in that sense, like when you learn to navigate the literal labyrinth, it becomes something else. Even if it still looks like a labyrinth. Hmm. Yeah, a lot of these get a little highbrow. This is because I am pretentious. Okay, I'm going to get up to this campfire and then I'm going to take intermission because my dog has not stopped barking, and that's concerning. So everybody, I will be right back once this campfire is in sight. Oh, an hour passed like 10 minutes ago. I have a kofi, by the way, if you guys like what I do. Anyway, I'll be back. I am back. So, dog was barking because my mom went out running with a friend. And he doesn't like new cars. So when he sees a car, he has to scream for all time. I don't know why putting that rope in that bag was so hard for me. Portable stove, I should be good for now. Plus, we are at the caldera. I don't think I'll need it. Yeah, exactly. Your Soas is very sacred. Also note that when I am, like, you know, just kind of sticking to the wall of a cliff, and every so often clicking the thing, I am both trying to maintain a low momentum and reset the fall timer. I did not realize that was what that was doing previously when I figured out, oh, you can do this to reduce fall damage. But that is how that works. I went down there and acknowledged his concerns, and that seems to have calmed him down mostly. A little more stamina. Oh, you have to be fucking kidding me. God damn it. Ah! Dang it. And that's mostly the pillar of fire. There is an off chance that I survive this, but it's not a particularly good one. Because the pillar of fire is gone now. But I don't think there's a new pillar. There's a new pillar forming directly under me. It's like, ooh, maybe I'm just barely outside of the range of the lava increasing heat. That does not matter here. That, Oh shoot, is this because I forgot to say hi to Pandora? Everyone say goodbye to Pandora now that we're at the end, and Pandora was here. Because I just realized. See you, Pandora. Thanks for coming. Okay. Welp. It be like that. So, that is today's Daily Peek. I really appreciate everyone who turned up, especially you, Digi. One of the biggest chatters today. Pirate, you're also wonderful. I saw you in the chat. I do not forget about you. I appreciate everybody's viewership. I had an amazing time. And I will see all of you guys next time. Bye.